Please put your hands together for Amanda Terry!
Everybody hear me back there? So the sequel to this Little Piggy Went to the Liquor Store is Mommy Had a Little Flask, as Al said, and that the ebook that'll be up in ebook by Friday, and the paperback will follow shortly thereafter. So I'm going to read some new material. This is all from Mommy Had a Little Flask, excerpts from 2 chapters, including the title chapter. You'd think that Alaskans would be natural fans of cold and ice and winter, that they'd be innately inclined to fur-lined fashions and a diet of salted fish. Not so much. Most Alaskans I've met regard cold weather as something to which they are severely allergic. The longer they live in Alaska, the more obsessed they become with finding warm, sunny climates in which they can bronze themselves for their golden years. Years ago, my in-laws began traveling to Mexico every chance they could. When they finally retired from 25 years of teaching, they sold their home in Sitka, Alaska to be able to afford building a home in Mexico. When I tell people this, they incorrectly assume that my in-laws have a lot of money, which is when I realize they weren't listening, because I clearly stated that my in-laws are retired teachers. When my in-laws first moved to Todos Santos, Mexico, they lived in a small RV parked on a lot they'd purchased. I distinctly recall my father-in-law's pride when he showed me the facilities, which consisted of a toilet seat glued to the top of a bucket. I'm sorry, I whispered to my husband, but explain to me why he's so proud of the poop bucket. Because it has a seat on it. It's like a luxury poop. Lord help us, how long are we staying? Just wait until he shows you the shower. Try to look impressed. The shower he referred to was a bag of water that hung on a hook. These are also known as sun showers because the sun heats the water and because adding the word sun to a miserable experience makes it shiny and happy. When you want to shower, you unscrew the cap and a pathetic drizzle of cold water heated by the sun, my ass, dribbles down upon you. It sort of feels like being peed on, though at least that would be warm. I've never lived in Alaska, but Boise can get pretty miserable in the wintertime. Unless you ski, there's really no reason to stay here throughout the winter if you have the choice to do otherwise. I've never understood the summer sucks bumper stickers. That's sort of like saying, I hate sunshine and barbecues and butterflies, and I much prefer to scrape ice off my windshield and slip and fall and break my ass every time I Born and raised in Alaska, my husband inherited the Alaskan cold allergy. The year before, we left Boise for the month of February, but in the coming year, Mike wanted to leave for the entire winter, so we booked tickets to Mexico for December 1st through February 28th. It's not that we haven't tried to like winter, it's just that it's so cold. Mexico represented not just an escape of winter, but also the opportunity to get away from certain aspects of American kid culture that I struggle with, including my greatest nemesis, Chuck E. Cheese. I detest this oversized rodent who entices my children only to teach them that funner is a word. Mr. Cheese's establishment is lamentably close to our home, and we pass by it often. I managed to get through 4 years of parenting without going there, but there came a time when it was no longer avoidable. My children deconstructed all of the lies I'd told to keep us out. Witches who eat small children live there, etc. After that, I instituted a reward chart, and a visit to Chuck E. Cheese was the highest reward. I figured there was no way my girls could reach it. Never underestimate the power of small children focused on obtaining something you clearly don't want them to have. I've learned valuable strategies over time, having had to go there on a handful of occasions. For instance, the timing of a visit to Chuck E. Cheese is key, and I highly recommend right when they open on Sunday mornings when everyone else is at church. By the time the masses show up, my kids are tired and ready to leave. The problem with the regulars of Chuck E. Cheese lies not with the other children, but with their parents. When I see a 2-year-old crying in a corner while his daddy pisses away tokens throwing basketballs through a hoop designed for a 7-year-old, I know that it's time to depart. Tokens must never be given in a free-for-all manner. They are doled out in turns. When it's Amelia's turn, I give her a token, and we must follow her and watch as she uses it. Then it's Ivy's turn, and so on. Sure, this tactic makes me a bit of a Nazi, and yes, I am strangely capable of sucking the fun out of a place where we go to have fun. But funner is not a word, and I'm not made of money, damn it. Escaping both winter and the funnerness of Chuck E. Cheese sounded great. These things do not exist in Todos Santos, and the prospect of a winter without them was welcome. But there were nagging little annoyances in my brain that pled with me to just stay put in my nice, familiar surroundings where everything is easier. A friend of mine has 4 children. On a Wednesday, her husband surprised her with a trip for the whole family to Hawaii. They would leave on Friday. He couldn't understand why I wasn't thrilled, she told me. I mean, it's wonderful, and I'm excited, and I'm sure we'll have a great time. On the other hand, part of me thinks, why would I want to go to Hawaii with my husband and 4 kids? It's like my life, only harder. Well, just try and focus on the positive, I said, and yes, we'll all probably have a fantastic time. I know, she sighed. Listen, I've got to run. I have about 15 loads of laundry to do before we go. And it's true, travel with children often seems like my life, only harder. I think it's easy for a lot of men to be disheartened by this or to think of their wives as simply not adventurous, but you can bet your ass those men aren't the one doing the 15 loads of laundry. I love travel, but I was daunted by the fact that we'd be traveling for 3 months. I like to travel to a place for a week and then go back home. At heart, I'm a homebody. After all, if I didn't like my home, I wouldn't live there. If left to my own devices, I could easily become a recluse who survives on Chinese food delivery and watches endless reruns of Cops while surrounded by a bevy of stray cats. I try to remind myself that the part of it that would be uncomfortable was also a positive. Get out of your comfort zone, it's good for you. But I don't actually believe these things because really, what's better than comfort? And as far as the it's good for you argument, I'm not buying it. Broken bones are uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean they're good for you. It's along the same lines of thinking as that which does not kill you makes you stronger, which is just something that drill sergeants came up with to keep their recruits from going AWOL. But people I admire talk all the time about how it's good to get out of your comfort zone. They say this from the comfort of their plush lazy boys with a cocktail in hand, but there must be an inkling of truth to it. It takes some preparation getting ready to leave the country for 3 months. You have to make arrangements for your mail, your house, your cars, and all the other stuff that comprises daily life. And if you rent your house out to someone else, you have to leave those people with some closet space. I went about cleaning out my closet to make room for our renters, and thought that instead of donating my clothes, maybe I'd try taking them into a used clothing shop in exchange for store credit. I dropped off a bit of clothes at Plato's Closet, and the young girl who worked there told me they'd call me to let me know how much store credit I'd get. They never called. I forgot about it for a day or two, and then I called them. Oh yeah, said a bored teen on the other end of the line. We still have your clothes here. You can have them back if you want. We can't take any of them. What do you mean you can't take any of them? You might want to try more of a mature women's clothing shop. We cannot take any of these. What? I couldn't believe the bitch had the audacity to call me mature. Yeah, we only take designer jeans, and a lot of the stuff you have is like Eddie Bauer type stuff. So I try to get mature women's consignment store. There she was with that mature woman thing again. I wanted to reach through the phone and slap the gum right out of her mouth. So if you want to come pick them up, I can write down a few mature women's shops for you, or we can just donate them. If you say the word mature one more time, I'm going to freak out. If I say mature, fine, donate them. I slammed down the phone and never again returned to Plato's closet, though I still contend that I'm not too mature to do so. In the midst of date night drinks in downtown Boise, two girls at a table next to us pulled their table up to ours. I'm sorry to interrupt, one of them slurred. Can we join you? Sure, I said, noting that she was drinking sangria and would have a wicked hangover the next day. Are you guys married? She asked. We are, I answered. 13 years, added Mike. Oh my God, that's so crazy, said Sangria. And you obviously still like each other. She looked at her friend then. What's wrong with us? I don't know, said friend. Our boyfriends are lame, said Sangria. They could have come out with us, but they wanted to stay home and play video games. Okay, she didn't actually say video games because that's what my generation says. She named the actual game, which was something along the lines of big bad characters with guns. Dump them, said Mike. And they hardly ever want to have sex, said Sangria. Yeah, dump them. I just don't get it. I mean, okay, I'm chubby, but whatever, but look at her. She gestured to her friend. She's totally hot, and her boyfriend is so blah about sex. Except when we travel, said friend. We travel great together. When we travel, we have sex all the time. Porn, said Mike. What? Asked friend. He's jerking off to porn all the time. When you travel, he doesn't have it with him, so you guys have lots of sex. But at home, he's spent from all the Friend and Sangria looked at each other and nodded, and I knew that Mike had just solved a mystery. Do you guys have kids? Asked Sangria. We do, I answered, a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. Oh my God, that's crazy. I hate kids. She didn't mean this maliciously. She was just drunk and blurting out basically the same way I felt about kids when I was little. We both have dogs, though, and we love our dogs. She got out her phone and showed me pictures of her dogs. Huh, I said. I hate dogs. You what? How can you hate dogs? No one hates dogs. I can't believe you just said that right after I showed you a picture of my baby. Actually, you showed me a picture of your dog. You don't have a baby. And I said it right after you learned I have children and you told me that you hate them. She looked thoughtful for a moment and then nodded. Touche. Going out was fun, but the bulk of our interactions did little to assuage the nagging feeling that I was no longer young and definitely not hip. I was determined, we had a cocktail party coming up, and I thought perhaps it would be more my style. I was determined to wear an actual cocktail dress, something that would make me fit in with all of the beautiful rich people with whom we'd be mingling. I even made an appointment to have my hair done. The dress I wanted to wear was a decade old, but still fit as long as I didn't breathe. I braved the mall to buy my first body shaper, which is something I should have purchased years ago. Anyone who complains about the cost of a good body shaper should get an estimate for liposuction. A body shaper is far less expensive and invasive. Of course, getting off your ass and running for an hour is free. The day of the cocktail party, I went to see my hairdresser. "What are we doing today?" Georgia asked. "Make me pretty." "What's the occasion?" A rich people party," I said. "They even have drivers to take people in their vehicles home." "Cool." "Sort of, but that's almost too much of a license to get drunk, which I'm really good at. So I think maybe I should be a designated driver so I don't get drunk and make a fool of myself in front of all the rich people." "I wouldn't worry about it," she said. "Rich people get way more drunk than other people. They get crazy drunk and they always start smashing plates and glasses and shit. Mark my words, someone will purposefully smash a plate by the end of the evening." Huh, I'll let you know. Georgia put 50,000 bobby pins in my hair to get it in some sort of chignon, whatever that may be. This is the word I try to avoid for fear of saying it wrong, just like my refusal to say khaki for a decade, because it always sounded like I was trying to say the word cock while hopped up on Novocaine. Regardless of how my hairstyle should be pronounced, it looked awesome. "Do you want me to do your makeup too?" I planned on doing my own makeup, but when someone offers to do something for me, I have little trouble agreeing. So after my hair was in place and sufficiently shellacked, she applied my makeup. "I'm going to clean up your eyebrows," she said. Have you looked at my eyebrows? They've never been plucked before. They're virgin." "Why haven't you ever plucked them before? Is it against your religion or something?" "They've never been plucked because they've never needed to be plucked. Seriously, look at them. They're by far my best feature." She took a good, close look and then frowned. "Yeah, they need some cleaning up." "Hold this." She handed me a mirror. "Watch." I was skeptical of what the results would bring. I had perfect brows. That was my claim to fame. She plucked here and there, and voila, it was a whole new me. With my hair back in a style uncharacteristically elegant for me and my freshly manicured brows, a new flaw showed in startling light. My cheeks looked like I was ready for a cameo in a Planet of the Apes movie. I had peach fuzz galore, and with my hair back, it was more than evident. I should probably do something about all of this hair on my face. I was hoping Georgia would say, "What are you talking about? I don't see any hair." Or, "You're imagining that rug lining your jowls, because I can't see a thing." But Georgia is, right here. But Georgia is painfully honest, and instead responded with, "I'm sure it will be dark at the party." I thanked her for her skills in making me look better than I actually do and went home to get dressed. With body shaper firmly in place, I donned my beautiful cocktail dress and admired myself in the mirror. I looked great, save for the fur on my face. I knew better than to take a razor to it. I didn't want to end up managing a persistent stubble for the rest of my life. Instead, I took the wiser path and began ripping the little bastards off my face with my fingers. Though I resolved the next day to buy some sort of product that would assist in the correct way for a woman to remove hair from her face. We drove far up into the foothills over Boise to a beautiful home. And in the foothills it gets windy, and it was kind of cold to begin with. I was further dismayed to see that the bulk of the party took place outside on a deck. Outdoor heaters were set up, but I'd have to spend the evening humping one of them if I was going to avoid freezing to death. Also, I appeared to be the only woman wearing an actual cocktail dress. Apparently, I missed the cultural shift when cocktail dress stopped referring to fancy attire suitable for a fancy cocktail party and started meaning whatever the fuck you feel like wearing. This was disconcerting, along with the fact that I didn't really know any of the people there. I did my best to appear not cold, to not get completely wasted, and to make polite conversation with the others in attendance. This worked for a little while until religion came into a conversation I was having with another couple. Mike was mingling, so he wasn't there to kick me in the shin at the appropriate time. When others casually talk about the teachings of their religion and the religious figures they worship, I feel compelled to casually mention my lack of religion. This never goes well. I instantly see the change in the people I'm speaking with, whereas they may have been laughing a moment before when they assumed we were all on the same spiritual page. Their faces drop upon learning otherwise, and the joy is sucked from their expressions. Not long after I'd gone public as a heathen, I wrapped things up and decided it was time to leave the party. The next day, I felt I needed some serious pampering to get over the awkwardness of the previous evening, so naturally I went to the grocery store to buy cream for removing facial hair. Purchasing this gave me the same feeling I get when buying something to cure a yeast infection. Like hemorrhoids or a good fungus, it's just not something you want to acknowledge. But I was convinced that this product would make my life better, so I purchased it and hid it among 75 other items that I didn't need. After careful consideration, I chose a checkout line worked by an older woman who I was pretty sure wouldn't pass judgment on my purchase. When she finished up with the person in line before me, she said, "Just a moment." Apparently her shift was at its end, and Josh, who looked to be about 14, took over. I didn't like Josh. He looked insolent and condescending, and I remembered him from previous trips to the store as the kid who bagged my groceries with cans on top of bread. Josh took the reins, and there was no way of getting out of it because I had all 76 items already up on the conveyor belt. As usual, he placed a loaf of bread into a bag and then covered it with canned goods. He worked mindlessly, as if he couldn't care less about the things that I was buying. That is, until the facial nair came out. Instead of just swiping it over the sensor as he had with everything else I'd purchased, he actually stopped and held the box up to study it, to read the front of it and figure out exactly what this little product was supposed to do for me. Then he lowered the box, scanned it, and placed it into its own little bag. Like how you a greeting card or something delicate like a wine glass. It was as if he singled out the hair remover, acknowledging to me that he knew this was what I'd come for. When he gave me my total and I swiped my card, I swear he leaned in and squinted at me, studying my face. I could complain to the manager, but what would I say? Josh looked too long at my facial hair remover and looked at my face to see if I needed it. That would only further highlight my problem and cause the manager to assess my job with the same condescending scrutiny. I cursed him in my mind and took my leave. At home, I carefully read the directions and then smeared some of the cream over the peach fuzz on my jaw. I waited a few minutes as directed and then rinsed it off as if by magic. My face was transformed from Planet of the Apes to Planet of People without excessive hair on their faces. It was wonderful, smooth, and perfect, as long as you can accept a little patchiness and a prolonged burning sensation. Between our downtown adventure and the rich people party, I decided that simply taking a traveler to the park was more my speed. That weekend, when the kids woke up, I brewed a pot of coffee and spiked a travel mug with Baileys. As I returned the Baileys to its home, Amelia said, "Mom, what's that silver thing?" She pointed to a glint inside the liquor cabinet. "That's called a flask," I said. "Can I use it?" "No, a flask is a special container for special drinks." "Are you going to use it?" "No, I'm just going to take my coffee cup. The flask in question has never been used because I'm not that hardcore. It was a gift and it waits in the liquor cabinet in case I ever become that hardcore." Amelia had no further questions on the matter, and she, Ivy, and I walked down to our local park. We found it deserted save for one little girl who looked to be about 6 years old. The three girls immediately struck up a friendship. The new girl had sandals that repeatedly fell off. Eventually she gave up and went barefoot. My girls then took off their socks and shoes. "No, girls, please keep your socks and shoes on." "But she has no socks and shoes," Amelia protested. "Yes, but this is bark, and I don't want to spend the afternoon pulling splinters out of your feet. Just worry about yourself and put your socks and shoes back on." Then I addressed my daughter's new friend. "What's your name?" "Sadie." "Are your parents here, Sadie? Who are you with?" "My grandma's over there." She pointed across the field to where a small group was gathered at a picnic table. "Okay," I said, and silently judged Grandma for not bringing her granddaughter with appropriate footwear, as well as for failing to supervise the child. Though I'm sure Grandma would have equally judged me for spiking my coffee. I helped Sadie a few different times, pulling splinters out of her feet, putting her sandals on, and then taking them off again a moment later, and picking her up when she couldn't reach the water fountain. Then Grandma shifted her fat ass and hollered over that it was time for Sadie to come back to the picnic table. Just a minute, I thought. Sadie's busy receiving basic parental care from a complete stranger, while you finish that bag of chili dog flavored Doritos. You really don't get up. Sadie waved a quick goodbye and ran to Grandma, who appeared to scowl at me for helping her granddaughter. Amelia, Ivy, and I decided it was time to return home. On our way, we passed by the picnic table. Grandma scowled at me again. Amelia capped off the interaction perfectly by speaking directly to Grandma while pointing to my coffee cup. "My mommy just has coffee," she stated. "She's not using the flask today."